Flashback 12.2, the Psych Ward Assessment. We'll see Richard again. I was free of the Scottsdale Psychiatric Ward for the criminally insane, but the doctors remained there. Dr. Caselli had a conference call with Drs. Garcia, Hyder, and Brandon to appraise them of the situation. He explained, "I am loath to inform you, Richard has escaped. He overpowered his room orderly, injecting him with his conflict resolution syringe, as Richard sometimes called it." So yeah, I didn't know what the drug inside those knockout syringes were, so I made up names of it all the time. Well, back to Dr. Caselli's informing the other doctors of what happened. Richard intimidated two more orderlies, waving a makeshift club that he crafted from a broken wooden leg from his room's desk table, apparently kicking it in the middle to splinter it, and the same to extract wooden table leg clubs that he could use. The orderlies rightfully feared Richard's deadly intent and force. They reported the club that Richard had was sharp and gnarly at its ends where it had been broken from the table. And there was blood. Richard's club was bloodied, later shown from striking his room orderly during their first encounter, before injecting him with the orderly's own knockout syringe, another name Richard liked to call it. And Richard stole the laptop that was assigned to him for writing notes, his memories, and those flashbacks. Richard was clever and resourceful, and forceful in his escape. Dr. Caselli warned, "I fear that Richard intends to resume his fantastical mission quest for God, to quest onward to stop the devil Baal and his cult, and all that insanity. He has fully transformed himself into his persona of Rick Liberty, and with his code and God's mission quest justifying and driving him forward, he may only be recoverable through direct engagement in the field to shock him into seeing firsthand where his fantasies are not and cannot be real." Caselli continued, "We must do all that we can to find and bring Richard back, and even use his madness in the field against him. Play within his insanity to show him reality, to bring him back to sanity as we know it to be. We must do what is best for Richard. We must find him. We must help him see reality and end his mad mission quest for God. Only then, by confronting Richard in his fantasy as Rick Liberty in the field, can we hope to jar him back to his senses and see reality for what it really is. Only by confronting Richard in the wild can we hope to save him." Dr. Hyder spoke. "I will miss Richard's adventures. They were exciting and moving." Dr. Garcia added his own views. "Yes, they were insightful, not just of Richard, but of all of us. I was moved deeply as well." Dr. Brandon expressed, "Richard's mind is amazing. He is both creative and analytical. He is self-learned and gains so much knowledge far beyond what most people are taught, even learn in their entire lifetimes. I hope that we will have a chance to work with Richard again, and I would like access to all of his notes. We didn't get a chance to go over all of them. I would like to read them all, if I may." Dr. Hyder and Garcia echoed, "We would also like his notes." Dr. Caselli answered, "Of course. You can have his laptop and tablet writings and drawings, everything he's left behind. We have copies of everything, of course." Dr. Caselli asserted, "Richard's recordings may be valuable for insight into his dementia and potential ways to shock him back to reality by experiencing cognitive dissonance from the clash between his alleged perceptions and the objective actual events and facts occurring around him. And while there is no cure for dementia, we may be able to bring Richard back to reality, at least for a while longer, before his brains have completely dried up, that no amount of reason or explanation could penetrate his madness." Caselli said, "We can hope to slow the progression of Richard's dementia and bring him to his senses, so he will bring no more harm to others or destruction to their property." Caselli continued, "Perhaps when Richard's mind has all but forgotten who he was, after he has lost his identity, he will find enjoyment listening to his own forgotten facts, but now as stories. Richard will be able to hold on to his memories a little longer by refreshing them through reinforcing them by listening to his recordings. Indeed, as Richard told us about his game, the Tower of Mirrorglen, a glen whose mirror-like waters reflected only the truth, because, as he said, stories are remembered long after the facts are forgotten. May Richard then, in his future, forgotten memory-addled mind, sit and relive the life that he will have forgotten. He will recall through his recordings things as he once remembered them." Dr. Caselli declared, "I believe that we will see Richard again. There is a gravity that pulls him towards madness and thusly towards us." Dr. Caselli concluded the session with an ominous message. "The world will now watch and judge Richard for his actions, be they for himself or for God. The world will decide if Richard is mad or sane, and if he is righteous or rationalizing in justifying his behavior. The world will decide Richard's fate. In his dementia, is he more Richard Seaborn? Rick Liberty? The Fulcrum? The leader of the Knights Templar? Or just a crazy old man?" And thus ends this chapter of Hell Difficulty and Richard's journey through it. May its saga inspire introspection and the pursuit of righteousness. Ride too in your own quixotic stirrups and journey onward for your own misadventures and wisdom. Remember, stories are remembered long after the facts are forgotten. Tell the tale of Hell Difficulty. Judge ye the fulcrum, as the fulcrum shall judge thee. In the meantime, watch out for Rick Liberty's continued misadventures on his mission quest for God. And remember, there is no hell for the righteous.